The message came in the middle of the Grand Council's breakfast, and it was only 5 words long. "We are coming for Earth." High Overseer Volturine read it twice. Then he laughed. He laughed so hard that a bit of blue nectar sprayed from his breathing slits and dotted the polished table in front of him. The other council members laughed too, because when the High Overseer laughed, everyone laughed. It was safer that way. "Earth," Volturine said, wiping his slits with the back of a long silver hand. "Someone tell me, what is an Earth?" A young datakeeper named Sesk hurried forward. Her body was thin and shaking. She was new to the council chambers, and she had never spoken in front of the Great Ones before. "It is a small world, Overseer," she said. "Third planet around a yellow star, far out on the quiet arm. The species there call themselves humans." Humans. Volturine tasted the word like sour fruit. "And these humans, they sent this message?" "No, Overseer," Sesk swallowed. "We sent it to them." The laughing stopped. For a long moment, no one moved. The great hall of the Malurian Empire stretched around them, a room carved from a single mountain of white crystal. Light poured through the ceiling and broke into 1,000 colors on the floor. It was said that no eye in the galaxy had ever seen anything more beautiful. And now that beauty was filled with a heavy silence. Volturine leaned forward. "Explained." Sesk's voice cracked. 3 cycles ago, the war fleet crossed into the quiet arm. Fleet Commander Oryx reported that a human trade ship refused to yield cargo. He fired on it. He destroyed it. Then he sent a war declaration to their homeworld, as is tradition. "As is tradition," Volturine repeated softly. "Yes, that is correct. When we mark a species for the harvest, we warn them first. It is honorable." "Yes, Overseer. So what troubles you, little keeper? A trade ship? A warning? This is nothing. We have swallowed 10,000 worlds. We will swallow this one too." Sesk did not answer right away. Her 3 eyes flicked to the data slate in her hands, then back to the floor. "Speak," Volturine said. His voice was quieter now, and quiet was worse than loud. "Overseer," Sesk whispered. The humans replied. "Then read their reply." She held up the slate. Her hands would not stop shaking. "They said only one thing," Sesk told him. "They said, 'Thank you for telling us where to send the answer.'" To understand why those words would one day make an empire tremble, you have to go back. Not far. Just to the day the humans found out they were not alone. Captain Mara Okonkwo had flown the Wanderlight for 11 years, and in all that time, she had never seen a ship that was not built by human hands. That changed on a cold morning near the edge of the solar system, past the orbit of the last icy rock, where the sun was just a bright star among many. She was hauling water ice from the outer belt back to the Mars colonies. Boring work. Good pay. The kind of job that let a person save up for a small house on the coast someday. She had a photo of that coast taped above her control panel. Gray sea, gray sky, a lighthouse. Home, back on Earth, in a country called Nigeria where she had grown up watching the stars and dreaming. Her co-pilot, a wiry man named Dev Sharma, was asleep in the back, snoring loud enough to shake the walls. So Mara was alone when the shape crossed her window. At first she thought it was a rock. Then she thought it was a trick of tired eyes. Then it lit up. It was a ship, but not a human ship. It was long and curved like a blade, colored deep silver, with lights that pulsed in slow patterns along its sides. It was 10 times the size of the Wanderlight. It moved without any burn of engines, without any flame, just gliding, silent, wrong. Mara's hand froze over the radio. Her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it. "Dev," she said. "Dev, wake up." He snorted. "What?" "Wake up, now, come here." Something in her tone got him moving. He stumbled forward, rubbing his eyes, and then he saw it too. He stopped rubbing. "Is that?" he started. "Yeah." "Is that ours?" "No." Dev sat down slowly in the second chair. "Oh," he said. "Oh no." A sound came through the radio. Not words, a tone, deep and rising, then a burst of clicks, then a voice. The voice was cold and even, and it spoke in perfect English, which was maybe the most frightening thing of all. "Small vessel," the voice said. "You carry cargo. By the law of the Malurian Empire, all cargo in claimed space belongs to the Empire. You will surrender it. You have one measure of time to comply." Mara and Dev looked at each other. "Claim space," Dev said. "This is our system. This is home." Mara keyed the radio. She kept her voice steady, though her hands were not. "This ship is registered to the Earth Union. We are hauling water ice to a human colony. This system belongs to humanity. We don't recognize any Malurian claim." There was a pause. When the voice returned, it sounded almost amused. "Humanity," it said, "you are a new species. You do not yet understand. Everything belongs to the Empire. It is only a matter of when we choose to collect. Surrender your cargo, human, and you may keep your small life a little longer." Dev grabbed Mara's arm. "Just give them the ice," he whispered. "It's water. It's not worth dying for. Just give it to them." Mara looked at the photo above her panel. The gray sea. The lighthouse. "Malurian ship," she said. "The ice belongs to 12,000 people on Mars who need it to live. It's not yours. It's not mine either. It's theirs. And I'm not going to be the reason they go thirsty." Silence. Then the silver ship's lights changed. They went from soft blue to a hard, burning red. "Then you have chosen," the voice said. "You are the first human to hear the words of war. Remember them. We are coming for Earth." Mara had 1 second. In that second, she did the only thing she could think of. She hit the emergency beacon, the one that broadcast everything, the black box that would survive even if the ship did not. She screamed one word into it: "Run!" a warning to any human vessel nearby. Then the light came. The Wanderlight did not explode. It simply came apart, quiet and complete, like a sandcastle hit by a wave. One moment there was a ship. The next there were pieces, spinning slow in the dark, catching the far-off light of the sun. Captain Mara Okonkwo was 39 years old. She never got her house by the sea. But her black box kept broadcasting, and every word reached Earth. The Malurians had a saying, passed down for 100,000 years. The strong feed, the weak are fed upon. There is no third path. They believed it the way other beings believed in gravity. It was not cruel to them. It was simply true. They had risen from a burning world, where every day was a fight to eat or be eaten, and when they reached the stars, they carried that hunger with them. They found other species. They found green worlds full of soft creatures who had never known war, and they fed. 10,000 worlds, 10,000 species, harvested, enslaved, or erased. The Malurian Empire had never lost a war. Not once, not ever. When they declared war on a species, that species was already dead. The declaration was just a courtesy, a tradition, a way of saying, "Your time is over, and we are polite enough to tell you." They had done it 10,000 times. The humans were numbered 10,001. Fleet Commander Oryx, the one who had killed the Wanderlight, reported his kill to the Empire with pride. He described the small human ship, the primitive metal, the weak weapons. He described the captain who had refused to yield, and he called her foolish. He recommended a light harvest, a single fleet, a quick collection. There was no need, he said, to send the full might of the Empire against such a small and backward people. The Grand Council agreed. They authorized one fleet, 200 ships. It was, they thought, far more than enough. They gave the humans a full cycle to feel their fear. That was tradition too. Let the prey know it is prey. Let it panic. Fear made the harvest sweeter. What the Malurians did not understand, what they could not understand, because it was not in their blood, was what humans did with a cycle of time and a coming enemy. They did not panic. They prepared. The Earth Union Assembly met in a great glass building beside a river, in a city that had once been called Geneva. 200 delegates from every nation and colony filled the seats. Above them, on a huge screen, played the last 30 seconds of the Wanderlight's black box. The scream. The word run. Then static. They played it 4 times. By the 4th time, no one was talking. Secretary General Amara Okonkwo, yes, the same name, for Mara had been her older sister, stood at the front of the room. Her eyes were red. She had not slept, but her back was straight, and her voice did not shake. "My sister is dead," she said. "She died because a species we have never met decided our lives belong to them. I have read their message 100 times. We are coming for Earth. They mean it. Our scientists have studied the ship that killed her. It is beyond us. Their weapons are beyond us. Their numbers are beyond us." She let that sit. "And they have made one mistake." A delegate from India spoke up. "What mistake? They can turn our planet to ash. What could they possibly have gotten wrong?" Amara looked at him. "They told us they were coming," she said. "They gave us time." The room was quiet. "Every species they've ever hit," Amara went on, "either ran or begged. They expect us to do one or the other. So let them think we are afraid. Let them think we are weak. And in the meantime, we will do what humans have always done when someone tells us we cannot survive." "And what is that?" the Indian delegate asked. Amara's jaw tightened. "We survive anyway, and we make them wish they'd never spoken our name." The first thing humanity did was listen. The Malurians had sent their message in perfect English. That meant they had been watching Earth for a long time, listening to old broadcasts, learning the language, studying the people. If they could listen, humans decided, so could we. A young signals expert named Ren Tanaka led the effort. He was 26, quiet, with tired eyes, and a habit of tapping his pen when he thought. He had grown up in the ruins of a flooded city, and he had learned early that the way you beat a bigger problem is by understanding it better than it understands you. For 6 weeks, Ren and his team did nothing but capture Malurian signals. The Empire was loud. It filled space with chatter, fleet orders, trade records, propaganda, songs. The humans could not understand any of it at first. But Ren noticed something. "They repeat," he told Amara one night, pointing at a screen full of scrolling symbols. "Every message starts with the same block of code. Same shape, every time. Look." Amara looked. "What is it?" "I think it's a greeting. Like, this is the Malurian Empire, glory to the strong. Something like that. Every message has it, which means it's your key," Amara said slowly. Ren smiled for the first time in weeks. "It's my key." It took him another month, but he cracked it. The Malurian language opened up like a book, and what the humans read inside that book changed everything. They learned the Empire's history, 10,000 worlds. They learned the Empire's law, the strong feed, the weak are fed. They learned that the Malurians felt no guilt, no mercy, no doubt. And they learned one more thing, a small thing, buried deep in old military records, a thing that almost no one noticed. Ren noticed. He found a record, ancient, from before the Empire had reached the stars, a record of a war. Not a harvest, a real war, against a species the Malurians had fought long ago. The record was strange. Most of it was missing, deleted, sealed, but the title of the file remained. The title said, "The Ones Who Would Not Break." And below the title was a single order, stamped by an emperor dead for 100,000 years. "Never speak of them. Never seek them. If they are found again, run." Ren stared at that for a long time. His pen stopped tapping. Run. The Malurians, who never ran from anyone. The Malurians, who had swallowed 10,000 worlds. There was one species, somewhere in their buried past, that they had been ordered to run from. He printed the file, and carried it to Amara himself. I don't know what this means, he said, but I think it matters. I think it matters a lot. Amara read it twice. Then she looked up. Find them, she said. Whoever this is, whoever the Malurians are afraid of, find them before the fleet arrives. While Ren searched the past, the rest of humanity built for the future. They had a cycle, about 8 Earth months. It was not enough time to match the Empire, not even close, so they did not try. Instead, they did what humans do best. They cheated. They could not build 200 warships, so they did not build warships at all. They built traps. Dr. Fumiko Adeyemi, the Union's top physicist, gathered the best minds from every nation into a single hidden base beneath the ice of Antarctica. There, in the cold and the dark, they took apart the wreckage of the Wanderlight and the tiny scraps of the Malurian weapon that had killed it. They learned how the enemy's guns worked. And then Fumiko asked a question that no Malurian had ever thought to ask. What if we don't try to survive their weapons, she said, but make their weapons survive us? Her team looked at her, confused. Fumiko drew a picture on the board, a Malurian energy blast, a perfect deadly beam. It's clean, she said, efficient, beautiful really. It carves through anything, but it needs a target. It needs to lock on. Their whole system is built on locking on to a solid ship. So, she drew a cloud. What if there's no solid ship? What if there are 10,000 of these? The cloud was made of tiny dots. Each dot was a small chunk of metal and rock. Cheap, disposable, mindless. Not a ship, but junk that could be flung into space by the millions. Junk that would confuse a targeting system built to hunt clean, solid vessels. They'll waste their shots, Fumiko said. Every beam that hits a rock is a beam that didn't hit us. And while they're busy shooting rocks, she drew one more thing. A single small human ship, hidden inside the cloud, carrying one weapon. We get close enough to do the only thing we can do to a ship that big. Amara had come down to see the work. She stood at the back of the room. And what's that? She asked. Fumiko turned. Her eyes were hard. We get inside it, she said, and we make it eat itself. The humans built their cloud. They mined the asteroid belt down to gravel. They emptied their junkyards, their scrap heaps, their broken satellites, their dead ships. Everything went up into space. Millions of tons of worthless debris, seated in a vast ring around Earth, like a shield of trash. They built decoys too. Fake ships, hollow, no crew, glowing with false engine heat to draw fire. And they trained. Every pilot, every soldier, every engineer trained for one thing, not to win, because winning was impossible, but to hurt the enemy so badly that the harvest would cost more than it was worth. Because that was the plan. Humanity could not defeat the Malurian Empire. But maybe, just maybe, they could make one fleet bleed so much that the Empire decided Earth was not worth the price. It was a slim hope. It was the only one they had. Meanwhile, in a quiet room far from the war rooms, Ren Tanaka searched for ghosts. He searched for 3 months. He barely slept. He pulled every scrap of Malurian data his team had gathered, hunting for any mention of the ones who would not break. He found almost nothing. The Empire had done its work well. The species had been erased from the record. But the Empire was old, and old things leave cracks. Ren found his crack in a trade log, a dull, boring list of goods moved between star systems 10,000 years ago. Among the entries was a note about a quarantine zone, a region of space the Empire had marked off limits. Ships were forbidden to enter. The reason was blacked out, but the coordinates remained. Ren mapped the coordinates. They pointed to a star system far out on the galaxy's edge, in a place so remote that even the Empire's endless reach seemed to thin out, a dead-looking corner of the dark. He brought it to Amara. I found where they went, he said. The species the Malurians are afraid of, or at least where the Empire sealed them away. It's far, really far, Months of travel, even for our fastest ship. We don't have months, Amara said. The fleet arrives in 10 weeks. I know. Ren rubbed his face. But if we send a ship now, right now, it can reach the quarantine zone before the fleet reaches Earth. If there's really something out there that scares the Malurians, it might be the only thing that can save us. Amara stared at the map. It was a gamble on a rumor inside a legend. If she sent a ship, she lost a crew, a vessel, and precious resources, all for a story she could not confirm. But the plan to save Earth was already a gamble. What was one more? Who would go? She asked. It could be a one-way trip, and if the fleet comes while they're gone, they might come home to a dead planet. Ren was quiet for a moment. I'll go, he said. Amara looked at him sharply. You're my best signals expert. If the fleet comes, I need you here. If the fleet comes and we lose, it won't matter where I am. But if there's a chance, a real chance, someone has to be able to talk to whatever's out there. Someone who can crack their language. That's me. It has to be me. Amara held his gaze for a long time. Then she nodded. Take the second chance, she said. It was the fastest ship the Union had, an experimental vessel, barely tested. Take a small crew. Find them, Ren, whatever they are, and bring them home. The second chance launched in the dead of night, so the world would not panic at the sight of a ship fleeing while everyone else stayed to fight. Ren took 4 people with him. A pilot named Grace Mabeki, calm and steady, who had flown supply runs to the moon 100 times. A doctor named Yusuf Haddad, gentle and funny, who kept everyone sane with bad jokes. An engineer named Priya Raman, young and brilliant, who could fix anything with a wrench and a curse. And a soldier named Marcus Cole, big and silent, who had lost his family in the flooded cities and had nothing left to lose. They flew for weeks. The stars stretched and thinned. The warmth of home fell away behind them, and the dark grew colder and deeper the farther they went. They passed dead systems. They passed the ruins of worlds the Empire had harvested, planets stripped bare, moons cracked open, the bones of civilizations floating in the silence. It was a graveyard, and it went on forever. So many, Grace said one night, watching a dead world drift past the window. So many people, just gone. That's what's coming for Earth, Marcus said. His voice was flat. That's what we're flying away from to look for a fairy tale. It's not a fairy tale, Ren said. But even he was not sure anymore. They crossed into the quarantine zone in the 7th week. The moment they did, every alarm on the ship went off at once. Priya scrambled to her station. It's not us, she said. It's not a system failure. Something's scanning us. Something big. From where? Ren asked. Everywhere, Priya said, and her face went pale. It's coming from everywhere at once. The stars ahead of them shifted. What Ren had thought was empty space was not empty at all. It was dark because it was covered, hidden. A vast structure hung before them, so large it blotted out the stars. A ring, no, a shell, a sphere of black metal that wrapped an entire star. It was the size of a solar system. It was the most enormous thing any human had ever seen, and it had been sitting here in the dark for 100,000 years, silent, waiting. A voice came through the radio. It did not speak English. It did not speak Malurian. It spoke a language Ren had never heard, deep and layered, many voices at once. He grabbed his equipment. His hands flew. He fed the voice into his translator, cross-referenced it against every pattern he knew, and slowly, word by word, the meaning came through. The voice was asking a question, one question, over and over. Are you the hunger? It asked. Have you come at last? Are you the hunger that eats the stars? Ren keyed the radio. He chose his words with great care, because he understood, in that moment, that the wrong answer would end them. No, he said, we are not the hunger. The hunger is coming for us. We came to find you because we heard that once, long ago, you were the only ones who did not break. We need your help. Please. A long silence. Then the shell around the star began to open. Back on Earth, the sky was full of fire. The Malurian fleet arrived 3 days early. They liked to break tradition when it suited them, and arriving early kept the prey off balance. 200 ships poured out of the dark, silver blades against the black, their lights burning red. They came in a perfect wall, and the wall stretched across the sky, and every human on Earth looked up and saw their death coming. Fleet Commander Oryx led them. He gazed down at the small blue planet and felt nothing but the familiar hunger. He had seen 1,000 worlds like this one, soft, green, full of creatures who thought their little lives mattered. "Scan the surface," he ordered. "Show me their fleet. Show me what they built to stop us." His officers scanned. They found no fleet. They found no orbital guns. They found only the strange ring of debris that circled the planet, the cloud of junk the humans had seeded. "They have nothing, Commander," an officer reported. "No warships, only a field of debris, perhaps a defense screen. It will not stop us." Oryx laughed, the way High Overseer Volturine had laughed. "Debris," he said. "Rocks. Is this the terror of the humans? Is this the answer they promised to send?" He shook his head. "Advance. Burn the debris. Then burn the planet. Let us go home." The fleet advanced. They fired into the cloud. And that was when humanity's plan began. The debris was not just junk. Fumiko Adeyemi's team had packed thousands of the chunks with a special coating, a reflective, shifting metal that scattered and bounced the Malurian beams in every direction. When the fleet fired, their perfect, deadly weapons hit the rocks and split into 100 wild fragments. Beams bounced back. Beams hit other ships. Beams scattered into the dark. The clean, efficient Malurian targeting system, built to kill solid vessels, went mad trying to lock onto 1,000,000 spinning targets at once. Chaos bloomed across the fleet. Ships fired on shadows. Ships fired on their own reflected beams. 2 Malurian vessels, confused by ghost targets, fired on each other and burst into silent flame. "What is this?" Oryx roared. "Cease fire! Cease! Hold your fire!" But it was too late. The order to attack had been given, and in the noise and the light, no one could tell friend from rock from foe. And into that chaos, humanity sent its answer. They came out of the debris cloud where no one was looking. 50 small ships, human ships, cheap and fast, and full of brave people who knew they would probably not come home. Each ship carried a single weapon, not a gun, not a bomb, but a device Fumiko had built from the Empire's own technology, turned inside out. The Malurians powered their ships with a core of pure energy, held in a delicate field. It was efficient, it was elegant, and it was fragile. If you knew exactly where to hit it, and exactly how. The humans knew. They had learned it from the wreckage of the ship that killed Mara Okonkwo. Fumiko's device did not destroy a Malurian ship from the outside. It got close, attached to the hull, and slipped a single pulse of feedback into the ship's power core. A pulse that told the core to release all its energy at once. It made their ships eat themselves. The first Malurian vessel to die never knew what hit it. A human ship darted in, planted its device, and pulled away. 3 seconds later, the great silver blade turned white from the inside, and came apart in a wave of light. Then another. Then another. Oryx watched his fleet begin to die around him, and for the first time in his long life, Fleet Commander Oryx felt something new. He felt confusion, and underneath it, something colder. Fear. "Where are they coming from?" he shouted. "Find the source. Find their ships." But the humans were inside the cloud, inside the chaos, inside the very confusion the Malurians had created with their own guns. And they kept coming. Small and fast and unafraid. Down on Earth, in the war room by the river, Amara Okonkwo watched the battle on the great screen and did not breathe. 20 enemy ships down, an officer called out. 30. We're actually hurting them. How many did we lose? Amara asked. The officer's face fell. 18 ships, all hands. Amara closed her eyes. 18 ships, 18 crews. People with names, with families, with photos taped above their control panels. She thought of her sister. She opened her eyes. "Keep going," she said. The battle raged for hours. The humans could not win it. Everyone knew that. There were 200 Malurian ships and only 50 human ships. And every human ship that planted its device was usually destroyed in the doing of it. It was a trade. One human ship, one crew, for one enemy vessel. And the humans were running out. By the end, 40 Malurian ships were dead. It was more damage than the Empire had suffered in 1,000 years. But 40 was not 200. And when the last human ship was gone, when the last brave crew had burned, 160 Malurian vessels still hung in the sky over Earth, battered, furious, and very much alive. Oryx had never been so angry. His fleet was ruined, his pride was in ashes, and these humans, these soft green creatures had done it. They had made the Empire bleed. "Enough," he said. His voice was low and terrible. "No more tricks, no more games. Charge every weapon. We will not harvest this world. We will erase it. We will turn it to glass so that even the memory of humanity is gone." His officers hesitated. "Commander, the law, the harvest." "The law is for the weak," Oryx snarled. "These humans are not weak, so we will not harvest them. We will simply end them. Charge the weapons, all of them. Aim at their cities. On my mark, we burn the world." The fleet turned toward Earth. 160 ships, all their weapons glowing hot, ready to fire. In the war room, the officer's voice was barely a whisper. "They're charging main weapons. All of them. They're going to destroy the planet. Secretary General, there's nothing left. We used everything. We have nothing left to stop them." Amara stood very still. She thought of her sister. She thought of the gray sea and the lighthouse. She thought of Ren Tanaka, somewhere far away in the dark, chasing a legend that had not come. "Then we did what we could," she said softly. "We made them bleed. We made them remember our name." She reached for the radio, to speak to her people one last time. And that was when the star fell out of the sky. It was not a star. It came so fast and it burned so bright that everyone thought it was a star at first. It streaked across the black and stopped, instantly, impossibly, breaking every law the Malurians thought they knew, right between the fleet and the Earth. It was a ship, but it was not like the human ships. It was not like the Malurian ships. It was not like anything. It was made of light and shadow both at once. It shifted and turned in ways that hurt the eye. It was as large as a moon, and it was ancient beyond measure. And along its impossible surface were the marks of 10,000 battles. It hung there, between the hunter and the prey, and the whole sky went silent. And then from the strange ship came a signal. It went out on every frequency, in every language, so that both humans and Malurians heard it at the same time. Ren Tanaka's voice came through, tired and shaking, but alive. "This is the second chance," he said. "We found them. Amara, we found them, and they came." Then a second voice spoke. The layered voice, the many voices at once, the voice from the shell around the star. It spoke Malurian now, and every ship in the fleet heard it, and every Malurian who heard it felt their blood run cold. "Hunger," the voice said. "We told you to run. We told you never to seek us. But you did not run. You grew fat on 10,000 worlds. And now you have come to feed on one that called for help. So we have come, as we promised long ago. We are the ones who would not break, and we remember you." On the strange ship, Ren Tanaka stood in a room he could barely understand, beside beings he could barely see. They had no fixed shape. They were more like ideas than bodies, shifting patterns of light and shadow that gathered and scattered and gathered again. They called themselves the Veil, and when Ren had first met them, weeks ago, inside the shell around their dying star, he had learned their story. The Veil were old, older than the Malurian Empire, older than most of the galaxy's civilizations. Long, long ago, when the Malurians first reached the stars with their hunger, they had come upon the Veil and tried to feed, and the Veil had fought back. The war lasted 1,000 years. The Veil did not have the Empire's numbers. They did not have the Empire's ships. But they had something else. They refused to break. Every time the Empire thought they were beaten, they rose again. Every time the Empire took a world, the Veil took it back. They were not stronger, they were not more numerous, they simply would not stop. In the end, the Empire could not win, but neither could the Veil. Both sides were exhausted. Millions had died. And so the two ancient enemies made a terrible bargain. The Veil agreed to withdraw, to seal themselves inside a shell around their own star, far out on the galaxy's edge, and to trouble the Empire no more. In exchange, the Empire agreed to leave them alone forever, and to erase all record of them, so that no other species would ever learn that the great, undefeated Malurian Empire had once been fought to a standstill. That was the secret. That was why the Empire had ordered its people to run, not because the Veil were monsters, but because the Veil were proof that the Empire could be stopped. The Veil had honored the bargain for 100,000 years. They had watched the galaxy from their shell, silent, grieving, alone. They had watched the Empire swallow world after world, and they had done nothing, because a bargain was a bargain, and they had given their word. Until a small human ship came out of the dark, carrying 5 tired people and one impossible request. Ren had asked them for help, and the eldest of the Veil, a being of deep gold light that the humans came to call the Keeper, had asked him a question. "Why should we break a bargain we have kept for 100,000 years?" the Keeper had said, "for a species we have never met. You are new, you are small, you will be gone in the blink of a star. Why should we care?" And Ren, exhausted out of clever answers, had simply told the truth. "Because we're not asking you to fight for us," he said. "We're going to fight for ourselves. We already are. Right now, back home, my people are dying to buy the rest of us a few more days. They can't win. They know they can't win. And they're fighting anyway. Not because they think they'll survive, because it's the right thing to do. Because the people behind them matter more than they do." The Keeper had been silent. "We didn't come here to be saved," Ren went on. "We came here to warn you. The hunger you fought, it never stopped. It's still eating. It'll never stop on its own. One day it'll grow so big that even your shell won't keep it out. We're not asking you to save us. We're asking you to help us end it, before it's too late for all of us." The Veil, who had hidden in the dark for 100,000 years because they had lost hope, listened to a small creature who had every reason to give up, and had refused. And something in them, something that had been asleep for a very long time, woke up. "You remind us," the Keeper said slowly, "of who we used to be, before we broke our own hearts by hiding." The shell around the star opened, and the Veil came out. Now they hung in the sky over Earth, between the Empire and the world, and Fleet Commander Oryx looked upon the ghost of his people's oldest nightmare, and did not know what to do. "It's a trick," he said. "The Veil are gone, sealed away. This is some human deception, but it was not a trick, and part of him knew it. The shape of the ship, the voice, the way his own instincts screamed at him to flee. He had heard the old stories, the ones passed in whispers among the highest ranks, the ones the Empire pretended did not exist, the ones who would not break. "Fire," Oryx said. His voice cracked. "All weapons, fire on the Veil ship. Destroy it, before—" The fleet fired. 160 ships poured every beam they had into the Veil vessel, a river of light, bright enough to blind a sun. It did nothing. The beams struck the Veil ship and simply stopped. They did not scatter. They did not reflect. They were absorbed, swallowed, gone, as if the ship had reached out and gently taken the fire and folded it away into nothing. And then the Veil answered. They did not fire weapons. They did not need to. The Veil ship pulsed once, a single wave of golden light that rolled out across the fleet, and where the light touched the Malurian ships, their engines simply stopped. Their weapons went dark. Their power cores went quiet. The wave did not destroy them. It unmade their ability to fight. In a single heartbeat, 160 warships of the great Malurian Empire went dead in the sky, drifting, helpless, blind. The many-voiced veil spoke again, and this time it spoke to Oryx alone. "You came to feed," the voice said. "You found us instead. We could end you now. We could erase your fleet the way you have erased 10,000 worlds. It would be just. It would be easy. It is what the hunger deserves." Oryx waited for death, but death did not come. "But we will not," the vial said, "because we have learned something today, from them." And the golden ship turned, ever so slightly, toward the small blue planet below. The humans could have run. They did not. The humans could have begged. They did not. And when they had every reason to give up, they flew across the galaxy, not to save themselves, but to warn the very people who might refuse them. That is not the way of the hunger. That is a different way, a better way, a way we had forgotten. The voice grew soft. "So we will not end you, Commander. We will do something the Empire has never done to anyone. We will let you go home, and you will carry a message to your council. Tell them the vial have returned. Tell them the age of the harvest is over. Tell them that the galaxy is no longer theirs to eat. And tell them why." Oryx's voice was barely a whisper. "Why?" "Because of them," the vial said. "Because a small, soft new species did what you never could. They faced the strong, and they did not break. Remember them, Commander. Their name is humanity, and they are the ones who taught the oldest survivors in the galaxy how to hope again." The dead ships came back to life all at once, engines lighting, power returning, but weapons still silent, still locked away by the vial. Fleet Commander Oryx looked at the blue planet one last time. Then he turned his ruined fleet around and fled into the dark, carrying the impossible news home. Over Earth, the sky went quiet. And down in the war room by the river, Amara Okonkwo finally breathed. "Ren," she said into the radio, her voice breaking. "Ren, you did it. You actually did it." "We did it," Ren said. "All of us. Amara, the people we lost today, the pilots, the crews, they didn't die for nothing. They're the reason the Veil came. They saw us fight even when we couldn't win. That's what changed everything. That's what brought them out of the dark." Amara looked at the screen. She looked at the golden ship glowing over her wounded, unbroken world. "Then we tell their stories," she said. "Every one of them. Forever." The Malurian Grand Council met in silence. High Overseer Volturine sat on his crystal throne and listened to Fleet Commander Oryx give his report. And with every word, the great hall grew colder. 40 ships lost to the humans' traps, the rest disarmed by a single wave of golden light. The vial returned. The bargain broken. The age of the harvest ended. When Oryx finished, no one spoke for a long time. At last the young data keeper Sesk, who had read the first human message aloud, stepped forward. She was not shaking anymore. "Overseer," she said quietly, "may I speak?" Volturine waved a tired hand. "We laughed," Sesk said, when the humans replied. "Do you remember? They said thank you for telling us where to send the answer. We thought it was fear. We thought it was foolishness." She looked around the hall. It was neither. It was a promise, and they kept it. The Overseer said nothing. "We have swallowed 10,000 worlds," Sesk went on, "because we believed there were only two kinds of beings, the strong who feed and the weak who are fed upon. We were wrong. There is a third path. We just never had the courage to see it. And a species 8 months old showed it to us in a single day." She stepped back. Volturine sat on his throne for a long, long time. Then slowly he rose. He walked to the great crystal window, where the light broke into 1,000 colors, and he looked out at the stars, stars that no longer belonged to him. "Send a message," he said at last. "To whom, Overseer?" Sesk asked. "To Earth." His voice was quiet. "To the humans. And what shall it say?" The High Overseer of the Melorian Empire, ruler of 10,000 worlds, was silent for a moment. The same number they sent us. He closed his eyes. Say only this. We surrender. Teach us how. The war that the Melorians declared on the most lethal species alive lasted less than a single day of fighting, and it changed the galaxy forever. Humanity did not become an empire. That was never the point. Instead, in the years that followed, they became something the galaxy had never had before. A bridge between the empire that had forgotten how to be anything but hungry, and the Veil who had forgotten how to be anything but sad. Between 10,000 harvested worlds, and the survivors who crept out of hiding, once they learned that the great Melorian Empire had finally been stopped. Humanity, small and new and soft, stood in the middle of all of it, and slowly, patiently, taught the oldest and coldest species alive a lesson it had taken them their whole short history to learn. That strength is not the same as hunger, that the greatest power in the galaxy is not the ability to take a world, but the choice not to. That no species is too small to matter, and no situation too dark for hope. And that when someone tells you that you cannot survive, the bravest and most human thing you can do is look them in the eye and survive anyway. Not for glory, not for revenge, but for the people standing behind you who need you to hold the line. Ren Tanaka came home. He and the crew of the Second Chance were the first humans to shake hands with an ancient enemy and turn it into a friend. Grace, Yusuf, Priya, Marcus, they all lived to see the day the harvest ended. Amara Okonkwo served the Earth Union for many more years, and every year, on the anniversary of the battle, she stood before the assembly and read aloud the names of the pilots and crews who had died buying the world its few extra days. And every year, she ended the same way. She read her sister's last words from the black box of the Wanderlight. The word Mara had screamed into the dark, the warning that had reached Earth and started everything. Run. And every year, Amara looked out at the assembly and said the same thing after it. She told us to run, and we almost did. But we didn't. Because that's the thing about us. Tell a human to run, and sometimes, just sometimes, they'll turn around and change the whole galaxy instead. There is a place, far out on the edge of the human territory, where a great golden light still glows in the dark. The Vial never went back into their shell. They had learned to hope again, and beings who have learned to hope do not go back to hiding. And near that golden light, on a small green world, on a gray coast beside a gray sea, there is a lighthouse. It was built by the Earth Union in honor of a captain named Mara Okonkwo, who was offered her life if she would only give up the water that other people needed to live, and who said no. The lighthouse shines out over the ocean every night. But it also shines up, into the sky, a single steady beam pointed at the stars. It is a signal. It has been broadcasting the same message for years, in every language known to the galaxy, Melorian, Vial, and 100 others besides. Any ship that passes, no matter how large, no matter how hungry, no matter how far from home, will hear it. The message is short. It is only a few words long. It says, "You are not alone, and you never have to break." And out in the endless dark, the ships that pass by, the ones who were once the harvested, the ones who were once the hunters, the ones who were once the hidden, all of them slow down, just a little, and listen. Because they have learned what the whole galaxy now knows, that the smallest voice, in the darkest place, refusing to give up, is the most powerful thing in all the stars.